Who are the Philadelphia Eagles going to pinpoint and take in the 2023 NFL Draft at the end of April? As of right now, 2 picks in the first round at number 10 and number 30. You can never count out Howie Roseman in trying to move up for a player who he likes or even move back to garner and pick up more draft capital. Before we take a look at some options at 10 and 30, I want to hear from you down in the comment section. This is today's poll question. What is your favorite part of the NFL offseason, especially pertaining to the Eagles? Is it the draft, type D? Is it the free agency period, type F? Share your thoughts with us. Draft target number 1 and a player who I'm kind of growing high on, and I've really been intrigued more so over the last couple of weeks. It's the defensive end out of Clemson, Myles Murphy. He is a bona fide target at number 10 for Philadelphia and a freaky athlete who could really bolster this Eagles defensive line, especially if they can't re-sign Brandon Graham or if they move on from Javon Hargrave or Fletcher Cox. The production at Clemson been pretty good over the last couple of years. 22 solo tackles in 2022, 11 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, and a fumble force this past year in what was kind of a disappointing season for Dabo Swinney's squad. When I scout Myles Murphy, what I see, great size. This dude is as twitchy as any prospect at that edge spot in this draft class. He is 6'5", 275, very chiseled. In his Clemson career, 96 total pressures. So the production was there very, very consistently. Also had 20 sacks in 3 years. He really loves to impose his will. He has some pro comps to Travon Walker, who was selected number 1 out of Georgia by the Jacksonville Jaguars last year, as Doug Peterson was in that war room. And I love how he plays physical football. I like his passion for the game. As for what he needs to improve on, just needs to develop more of a pass rush arsenal with a lot of those moves. Now, NBC Sports Philadelphia, in their mock draft, as we're kind of doing a mock draft roundup here as well, had Myles Murphy going to the Birds at number 10. And I like the selection because we know that Howie Roseman and this organization always prioritizes building along the trenches. Here's what Dave Zangaro had to say about him. Whenever in doubt, expect the Eagles to go to the trenches, and that's what they do here to land a really excellent edge rusher from Clemson. Murphy, 6'4", 275, size and athleticism. He's also been productive in all 3 years at Clemson, totaling 18.5 sacks and 36 tackles for loss, and he's already really solid against the run. Again, some of these sack numbers, according to different publications, can change, so keep an eye on that as we give you our draft coverage here on Eagles Now. Like Pro Football Focus, for instance, does not account half sacks. They just go full sacks, so that's interesting there. Continuing on from NBC Sports Philly, he's already really solid against the run, is Murphy. He's even big enough to play inside on passing downs. Brandon Graham does that a lot, by the way. Expect Murphy to have a really strong showing at the NFL Combine. And speaking of our draft coverage, make sure you turn on your notifications. Make sure you subscribe. Therefore, anytime we go live, anytime we push out a video, you will be notified. Of course, whatever happens in free agency, we have you covered. With draft prospect profiles like this, we're going to talk about it. When the Eagles make their draft picks, we'll be live for it. That's why you got to subscribe. Another draft target at number 10, and I'm hoping, frankly, that he falls to the Eagles at number 10 because this might be one of my favorite selections at this spot, in addition to Joey Porter Jr., especially at cornerback. It's Devon Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois, who played for one of the better defenses in the country last year for the Fighting Illini. And how he grades out really is superb all across the board. A lot of pro comps here to Darius Slay, who obviously Eagles fans know very, very well. Burst onto the scene in 2022 in a big way. Had a Pro Football Focus grade of 92. For instance, league average at the NFL level is 70. Had 738 snaps this year, only gave up 22 catches on 63 targets, good for a completion percentage of sub 35. No touchdowns allowed in coverage to go along with 3 interceptions. Pro Football Focus's scouting breakdown on Witherspoon, no cornerback upped their value more this year. After entering the season as a relative unknown, Witherspoon is now our top cornerback prospect in this draft class. That didn't happen by accident, as the junior's 92.5 grade led all FBS corners this season. He finished top 5 in the country in completion percentage allowed, forced incompletions, second in passer rating when targeted, and yards allowed per coverage snap. And he did that while playing more man shades of coverage than any other cornerback in this class. And as I mentioned, his pro comp is Darius Slay. Rangy, pretty good athlete. Most importantly, though, and I think this is an underrated aspect of a defensive back, it's having good instincts. It's having good ball awareness, where if you get beat, you're not running in to the wide receiver or the tight end. You're actually going to turn around and address the football because you're reading the eyes of that receiver target. You're reading the arms, whether or not they know if the ball's going to come or not, and just having an understanding of that defense and that Fighting Illini defense, a pro-style defense, which obviously Witherspoon will have to pick up. What is the biggest area of need on the Eagles? For me, when I look at this roster, it kind of all depends on what happens in free agency. But defensive tackle, edge, cornerback, safety, linebacker, depending on who leaves and who goes and who stays. So those are a couple of needs that I have on this Eagles roster. More prospects to come, but first, Philadelphia Eagles Now Today is sponsored by Athletic Greens. You can get 5 free travel packs and a year's supply of vitamin D if you use our link, athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I gave AG1 a try because, given my work schedule here at Chat Sports, I'm really busy. Combined with my training regimen, as I'm on a mission to run every single day for a year straight, I wanted sustained energy. I wanted to stay healthy by keeping my immune system strong so that I can strive toward my professional work life and personal fitness goals. I take AG1 every morning as part of my routine, and it sets the table for the rest of my day. It's helped improve my gut health. It's boosted my energy. It supports my immune system and helps me recover since I'm putting such a toll on my body. I've also really started to prioritize my health over the last couple of years, and that's also why I love AG1 and its 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. I also love that something that's this good for you costs less than $3 per day. I simply put 1 small scoop in a bottle of water, drink it before, after my workouts, or first thing to start the day to set the table for the rest of it. So if a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement and routine, Athletic Greens giving you, the Bird Gang, a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. I have noticed so many benefits with AG1, and it's made a huge difference in my life in prioritizing my health. See for yourself, athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Another draft target to get to. Now let's kind of pivot to later on in the draft. Pick number 30 here with the player who we actually talked to at the Super Bowl on Super Bowl Radio Row. That's Cam Smith, cornerback out of South Carolina. He became a viral sensation because he famously said during a game this past year, "You just got to drop your nuts." Love the swagger. When I scout him, kind of lacks athleticism. So that's a little bit of a concern as he shifts gears to the NFL level. But an instinctual and smart player, he plays like a wide receiver at cornerback, meaning he's always trying to get after the football like a wide receiver always does. Doesn't wait for the ball to come to him, he attacks it. While he might lack crazy, freaky athleticism, he does have short area quickness. And that's where sometimes the 3-cone comes into play. Does have injury issues over the last couple of years, which is a little bit of a concern because obviously playing at the NFL level, there's an uptick in that physicality. He was targeted 38 times last year for South Carolina. He gave up 18 catches. Now, while the athleticism might be a little bit of a concern, when I saw him at the NFL Scouting Combine, it looked as though he added on some weight, looks to be in good shape. That's obviously big for him. Now let's go to the offensive side of the football. As we've gone kind of defensive heavy on today's draft episode, I love this kid in Jahmyr Gibbs. And for producer Trace, unfortunately, he dusted some Arkansas Razorbacks in this photo here. But Arkansas Razorbacks, not the only players who are getting dusted by Jahmyr Gibbs this past year for Alabama. Jahmyr Gibbs' fit in this offense, he could be electrifying in this Eagles offense. He can run in between the tackles. He can get out to the edge. And to have the value of Gibbs at pick number 30, operating under the assumption that Myles Sanders goes somewhere else for $8 to $10 million per year, and you're paying Jahmyr Gibbs a fraction of the price, it could be a steal for the Eagles in this draft. And I'm not an advocate for taking a running back in the first round. But the Eagles don't have a ton of needs on this roster right now, so that they can afford to replace Miles Sanders with the player who honestly might have more potential and is a lot cheaper. And he can do it all as well. 151 carries in 2022, 926 rushing yards. Yards per carry, that's 6.1. He also had 44 receptions and 444 receiving yards. So coming out of the backfield in this offense is really important to be that receiving threat, but also he can run it all across the field. And I think this is a very interesting breakdown thanks to our friends at Pro Football Focus. And this shows you that Gibbs can run anywhere here because this is the breakdown of his gap decisions. So the A gap is to the right or the left of the center. Let's hope that Jason Kelce comes back. He had 44 attempts for 487 yards going through the A gap here. That's right directly through the heart and the teeth of that defensive line. B gap here, to the right of the right guard or the left of the left guard. That's 27 attempts for 76 yards. C gap, 18 carries for 88, and then going out wide. So he's used primarily A gap and out wide, 61 carries for 358 yards. I love the multi-purpose nature of Jahmyr Gibbs. I love that he can be a 3-down running back, a guy who has the physicality to hold up in the trenches in between the tackles, get out wide, but also be very dynamic with the ball in his hands as a pass-catching option as well. So that does it for our Eagles mock draft roundup, taking a look at some of these Eagles draft prospects. If you're excited for the draft, I simply want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. It does begin with the first round, Thursday, April 27th.